Today, I'd like to take you on a journey to a lesser known corner of southeastern Bangladesh. In the remote hills of this region, there exists a little known Buddhist tradition. This is the story of the Luris, a community whose heritage remains largely undocumented and rarely discussed. My presentation titled The Luris, a Buddhist tradition in the Chittagong hill tracts of Bangladesh, explores the origins, practices, and current situation of the Luri tradition. Here is a brief overview of today's presentation. I will start with an introduction to the Chittagong hill tracts and the Chakma ethnic Buddhist community. Then I will review the key literature to trace the historical development of the Luri tradition, followed by an overview of the tradition itself and its main religious scripture, the Agartara. Next, I will discuss the practices of the Luri monastics, highlight some distinct scriptures of the Luri tradition compared with Theravada Buddhism and examine its current situation. Finally, I will conclude with a selection of photos of the Luris, their monasteries, ceremonies, and scriptures, the manuscripts, to provide a visual understanding of their practices. Moreover, this presentation aims to provide a general overview of the Luri Buddhist tradition. As shown on the map, the area highlighted in green represents the Chittagong hill tracts located in southeastern Bangladesh, bordering India and Myanmar. This region is notable for its cultural diversity, home to 11 indigenous ethnic communities. Among them, the Chakma are the largest group, and they are also the largest Buddhist community in Bangladesh. Today, the Chakma primarily follow the Theravada Buddhism. However, this was not always the case. Before Theravada became dominant, the Buddhist faith in the region was preserved by a group of monks known as the Luris. They practiced and preached a localized syncretic form of Buddhism, which differs significantly from the canonical tradition. While Theravada Buddhism in this area is well studied, the unique practices of the Luris have been largely overlooked. This brings me to the focus of my presentation, the Luri Buddhist tradition. Although it is no longer a mainstream practice, as shown in the map, only 12 villages in remote Dighinala sub-district preserve this old tradition. But its unique history provides valuable insight into the socio-religious evolution of the Chittagong hill tracts. Let's explore this fascinating and important Buddhist tradition from the Chittagong hill tracts. Let us begin with the history of the Luri tradition. Tracing their past is challenging, as the Luris have no well-documented written history. To uncover their story, we rely on historical clues such as old colonial records to piece together their cultural and religious development. Historian Hall notes that in the 11th century, during the reign of the Burmese Emperor Anuarata, Theravada Buddhism became popular in Burma. The emperor expelled a group of Mahayana Buddhist priests, known as the Ari. The similarity between the words the Ari and Luri, and geographical proximity of the Chittagong hill tracts and Arakan, combined with established patterns of historical migration, suggest a potential connection between the Luris in the Chittagong hill tracts and the expelled Ari priests from Arakan. Another British official, Francis Buchanan, who travelled through the Chittagong hill tracts in 1798, long before the British officially took over, observed a group of Buddhist monks called Moishang, also known as Raulims. Buchanan noted that their religious texts were written in the Rakhine language, indicating a link to the neighboring Arakan region. While a complete history is not yet established, the circumstantial evidence shows that the Luri tradition has deep and ancient roots in the Chittagong hill tracts. Now, let us turn to the Luri Buddhist tradition. It's a unique practice. Its followers trace their lineage to Venerable Rahula, the Buddha's son. While this is not confirmed in Buddhist literature, but the belief remains central to their identity. Today, these monks are known as Luris, though in the past they were also called Rauli, Moishang, and Thor. Interestingly, the Luris and the followers also identify their tradition as Mahayana Buddhism. But a close examination reveals that their religious scripture, Agartaras, Taras, or Suttas, related to the Theravada tradition. Luris lead a secluded life in monasteries called Kyong and dedicate their time to two main purposes: meditation, to deepen their scriptural practice, and preserving their sacred text, the Agartara. One key requirement for a person to join the Luri Sangha is the ability to read and write in the Chakma script. Because the Agartara was originally handwritten on palm leaves in this very script, Luri monks diligently preserved the Agartara by hand copying this text, a practice that honors their heritage and ensures the tradition lives on. The Luri monastic system is highly structured. The journey begins with the chamini or novices as young as 7. They then progress to trainees who study scriptures for several years, typically a minimum of 4. Only after mastering the Agartara, a trainee becomes a fully ordained Luri. The path does not always end there, as some Luris eventually become Luthak, returning to family life to serve their communities as household priests. A key part of their identity is their attire. Luris wear traditional saffron-colored robes known as the Trichivara. The inner robe is worn differently depending on their position within the Sangha. A fully ordained Luri wraps and knots it at the back, similar to a dhoti, while a novice knots it in the front like a lungi. In this slide, the image shows a Luthak or former Luri monk holding a sacred Gozen statue. Now, let us explore the main disciplinary practices of the Luri monastics. The Luri tradition, like all other Buddhist traditions, has a moral foundation known as Panchashila, or the 5 precepts. However, the similarity ends there. While traditional Buddhist Panchashila is based on a set of 5 prohibitions or actions to be avoided, the Luri tradition's system is significantly different. The foundation of their moral life is a system with a symbolic connection to nature. Each of the 5 precepts represents a moral virtue linked one of the 5 elements. Ayadekang or earth, Sennang or water, Kurukang or fire, Iaise or air, and Parthang or space. It's highly likely that the Luri precepts were inspired by the Maha Sutta, a text in which the Buddha gave guidance to his son Rahula. For example, by following this, a Luri practitioner cultivates the unshakable patience of the earth and the purity of water. In doing so, Luris reinforce their connection to Rahula's specific path, which is centered on a deep meditation on the elements. Building on the 5 core precepts, the Luri monastic system includes a set of 10 rules known as the Ganasila. This system adds 5 additional rules to the original Panchashila. These are forgiveness, greedlessness, non-violence, respect for elders, and honor to Creator Gozen. This is a distinction in how these rules are observed. Fully ordained Luri monks primarily follow the first 5 rules, the Panchashila, while novices are expected to follow all the 10. Unlike Theravada monks who follow the 10 precepts and the detailed Patimokkha, this image shows a Gozen statue and a bell used in traditional Luri rituals. When Luri monks and Luttaks visit devotees' households to perform rituals, they carry a statue and a bell like this. Finally, to guide their conduct, Luri monks cultivate 9 virtues, including being a traveler on the noble path, a traveler on the righteous path, one worthy of offerings, and so on. Because they live by these virtues, Luris are entitled to receive 10 traditional offerings from the community. These include robes, food, medicine, a place to live. Unlike Theravada monks, Luris do not observe Vashavasa, the 3-month rainy retreat. Instead, seniority is calculated based on ordination years. The Luri tradition places a strong emphasis on the teacher-disciple relationship, making initiation highly significant. Without ordination and initiation, followers cannot access meditation techniques or sacred scriptures, whereas in the Theravada tradition, these are open to all monks and lay followers. Luri monks hold a strong belief in Gozen, regarded as the creator of all living beings, including Buddhas. Theravada Buddhism rejects the idea of a creator. In the Luri tradition, Gozen is seen as the ultimate source of life and central to their spiritual worldview. Historically, Luri monks performed distinct rituals, including offerings and animal sacrifices. Today, these sacrifices are no longer practiced due to Theravada influence. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the Luri tradition is their choice of sacred texts. While identifying as Buddhist, the Luris do not rely on the Tripitaka. Instead, their primary religious source is the Agartara. The Agartara is a collection of 28 taras or suttas composed in Chakma script and preserved by the Luri community for centuries. Each tara describes the virtues of the 28 previous Buddhas, while following the sequence in the Pali canon's Buddha Vamsa. The meaning of the word Agartara is not fixed. It ranges from ancient scripture to lettered or written sutta. In this slide, the image shows a section of the Agartara's Sacheng Fulu Tara, handwritten on palm leaves in Chakma script. Now, there are two traditional stories that explain the origin of the Agartara. Firstly, a prominent Luri monk, the late Angupulchan Karbari, in his book Shadharmapote, wrote that the Buddha himself gave the scripture to his son Rahula. This book by Angupulchan Karbari holds a legendary status among the Luri followers. It was the very first to collect their oral history into a written text. During my PhD field research, I had the incredible fortune of finding a very badly preserved copy of this extremely rare book. An alternative origin story comes from the Chakma folklore itself. The Sadengeri ballad suggests that legendary Chakma king Sadengeri attained enlightenment and recorded the Buddha's teachings into 3 separate texts or taras. It's important to note, however, that so far there is no historical evidence to support either of these accounts. In the next couple of slides, we'll examine the relationship between the Agartara and the mainstream Buddhism in more detail. As mentioned, the Agartara contains 28 taras, each used in different rituals. The slide lists some of the taras along with their uses and significances. The Karma Fulu Tara describes the qualities of the Kassapa Buddha and explores the theory of karma. It is recited when offering dana to deceased individuals. The Rakampulu Tara explains the principles of righteous kingship and the virtues of Sumedha Buddha. This Tara is recited during funeral ceremonies. The Arinama Tara focuses on household life and the virtues of Dipankara Buddha. The Tara is recited during wedding ceremonies. For centuries, the Agar Tara has been used in traditional Chakma rituals, covering purposes such as healing, purification, protection, and the forgiveness of deceased souls. This demonstrates the blending of traditional beliefs with Buddhist teachings. On this slide, we can see a direct comparison between two texts. On the left, we have passages from the Joy Mangal Tara, taken from the Agartara manuscript. You can see the transliteration here in the left column, and on the right, we have the well-known Maha Jaya Mangala Gatha in Romanized Pali. By placing these two side by side, we can clearly see the striking similarities in content and structure, highlighting the close relationship between the Luri tradition's sacred texts and the wider Buddhist canon. On this slide, you see a passage on Buddhist veneration from the Luri tradition. This text on the left column is written in the Chakma script and is pronounced Si Namatheisa Bhagavata Arahatu Sangha Sangbuddhasa. This is a fascinating example of how the Luri tradition adopted Pali. It appears to be a variation of the familiar phrase Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Over generations, as these doctrines were passed down from teacher to disciples, gradual changes occurred. You can see this modification, including spelling variations, altered pronunciations, and the addition of words from other languages. Over time, these changes have made some of the original meanings in the Agartara difficult to understand today. Francis Buchanan documented that Luri monks once held significant influence, advising the Chakma royal court, but their influence declined dramatically. Currently, this tradition survives among only a few hundred people in remote villages. The decline began in 1865 with the arrival of Sangarat Sarameda Mohatero from Arakan. He preached Theravada Buddhism and his influence grew immensely, especially after Chakma Queen Kalindi Roy adopted it. Following that, the Luris lost their royal patronage. Many Luri monks were forced to surrender their scriptures to royal authorities, leading to the loss of several texts. In ancient Chakma society, Luris were central to traditional rituals, which often included animal sacrifices. Changing views on such practices have reduced reliance on Luris and further marginalizing their role. At present, Luri activities are concentrated in the Khagrachuri district, where 8 biharas serve 12 villages. The community has 15 fully ordained monks or Luris and 13 novices. But there is no Panjang, a senior monk with over 30 years of monastic dedication. Today, Luris no longer performs animal sacrifices and is actively promoting this reform. And to preserve their heritage, the Luri Sangha organizes annual religious and social gatherings and collects handwritten Agartara or suttas. Lastly, I'd like to show a few images related to the Luri Buddhist tradition. This is a Luri monastery located in Khagrachuri district. And you can see the Luri monks and novices on the right. This image shows part of the Agartaras Sacheng Pulutara, handwritten on the palm limbs in Chakma script. Only a few of these rare manuscripts have survived to the present day. The image on the left shows the Dasa Paramitara, written in Chakma script. This Tara describes the qualities of the Gautama Buddha. It is recited during Jadi Puja and when offering food and water to ancestors. And the Malantara, it describes the virtues of Tisha Buddha and tells the story of the ascetic named Malem. Some part of this Tara share similarities with the Pali Mangala Sutta. And the image on the left shows the Lutak, a former Luri monk, performing a purification ritual with flowers. And the image on the right shows the Tangon Puja, or the worship of Gozen's flag, an important ritual in Luri tradition. And the image on the left shows the Thaming Tong Puja, also known as the food offering ceremony. And the image on the right shows the Buddha statues placed inside a Luris monastery. Although the past of this tradition is shrouded in mystery, their role in performing religious rituals in ancient Chakma society is undisputed. At that time, they were the sole custodians of Buddhist rituals. Their practices, while different from mainstream Buddhism, are crucial for understanding the development and evolution of Buddhism in this region. Thank you so much for your presence.